You're about to enter into a new world of knowledge, curiosities, and high strangeness. This is a podcast of Straight Up Strange Productions.
You're listening to Mysteries and Monsters. I'm your host, Paul Bestel. Denbigh, North Wales in 2012, and one family will have a start to the new year they would never forget. With 4 eyewitnesses and several minutes of footage, this event should be one of the most well-known UFO cases in modern British history. Instead, it seems to have been pushed out to the margins. Thankfully, researcher Gari Jones has taken the gauntlet from local investigator Peter Glynn to cover the family story in his new book, The Denbigh Lights. But before that, as always, don't forget you can support Mysteries and Monsters by signing up at patreon.com/mysteriesandmonsters. $4 a month gets you ad-free episodes, guaranteed early releases, bonus content, and more. You can also click on the link in the show notes as usual. A big thank you to my 2 new patrons, Jason and Colleen. And as always, thank you to each and every one of you that support the show every month. It means a lot, and I couldn't do it without you, so thank you. Mysteries and Monsters is across all social media platforms. Please subscribe to the Mysteries and Monsters channel on YouTube, and don't forget you can get your Mysteries and Monsters merchandise by going to mysteriesandmonsters.com. Thank you as always to Dean Bestel for his marvellous artwork. The show is produced by Brennan Storr of the Ghost Story Guys, and Mysteries and Monsters is delighted to be a part of the Straight Up Strange network. Now, let's join Gary to try and uncover just what a family caught on camera that early January morning in 2012. We return to Wales to look into another unusual case with eyewitnesses convinced that they saw something strange in the skies. With video recordings, a police call-out, investigators are convinced that whatever happened that dark, stormy January morning in 2012 remains unidentified and unexplained. Researcher and author Gari Jones joins me despite some technical issues that someone clearly didn't want us to have this conversation to discuss his new book focusing on the Denbigh Lights case. Gary, eventually, welcome to Mysteries and Monsters, sir.
Yes, welcome indeed. It's been quite an ordeal just getting us this far. Yeah, it's great to be here, Paul. Thank you. It's been a strange couple of minutes trying to get this show to connect.
Absolutely. As we were joking before we eventually got there, the last time I had as many problems speaking with a guest on this particular show or this topic even, Gary, was obviously Kaz Clark, which I find quite odd because you two have worked very closely together in regards to Penturk, and for me to have as many problems speaking with yourself as I did with Kaz, though you have beaten the record of being available to speak about it, because I think me and Kaz were at it for nearly 2 hours before we finally got the connection working, and we've only hit 50 minutes, Gary, so we've done all right, mate.
Yeah, we hit 50 minutes. That's not too bad. Yeah, I can only say to that, Paul, I mean, it's not the first time it's happened. It seems to be that whenever me or Kaz, and it's funny, it's just me or Kaz, yeah, we always seem to have these technical issues. We buy new microphones, new speakers, new laptops, or new other bits and bobs. All our internet connections are fine. There's no program bugs or anything, or viruses running through the system. Everything's fine. And then you get to the interview or the online recording or whatever, and then suddenly something just goes wrong. It's just so strange.
It is.
But there we are. I mean, you know, people can call it what they want, technical faults or low bandwidth, but I mean, we checked all that. The only other thing we can usually think of is if someone's interfering with us, you know.
Absolutely.
Doesn't really want to talk.
Very strange. Clearly,
break it all down.
Gary, obviously, as we've tried to speak about this as we got there, you are. I've been aware of you for a few years. We've briefly said hello to each other a few years ago at a UFO conference, but there was a lot going on and things going off, and I've been aware of your work over the last few years as you've sort of pushed yourself further into the UFO enigma. But you were a young man when you had an experience with some friends that's kind of propelled you to this point where you've embraced the topic fully now. So, I mean, I've spoken with people before in regards to certain strange things that have happened to them in their lives, Gary, on a variety of topics. And sometimes I often wonder if certain people are chosen or picked to have an experience to enable them to accept it and embrace it and run with it, as you have.
I would probably run along the lines of those ideas myself. Yeah, it does seem to be a lot of people who get into this subject not because they feel they want to, like a hobby or interest, something they experience from an early life, and obviously that's going to have profound effects on you. But I've obviously seen people who were well into their adult years, and then they have an experience, a very close-up sighting or something pretty astonishing, and then they get into research, and suddenly they turn into authors and full-time UFO research investigators as well. So yeah, I mean, I would say there is definitely something to that.
I mean, obviously, when you had your sighting as a young boy, Gary, was it something that, as you grew up, you indulged yourself in the interest based on that, or is it that kind of thing that sometimes people have a strange experience as a child or a young person? They put it to one side until they come across something else later in life, and that sort of reignites their passion. So for you, Gary, from that experience as a young boy, did you just continue to read about the subject, or did you leave it till your sort of 20s, 30s and come back to it to embrace it as fully as you have?
Well, it worked itself up in levels, I guess, but I've always had an interest in the subject. I mean, when my sighting with my friends, the oval-shaped objects, brown, red, yellow lights with those strange lava-looking motion through the center of them. I did describe it in the book. It moved like the Knight Rider light, left to right, and it hovered silently, and it had this strange glow coming from the lights itself, like a bluish tint on the edges. 2 or 3 minutes I saw it for. I think it was about 3 minutes, and then, like I said, turned my head away, and it was gone. And it was like strange. I mean, obviously, my friend joked about it. He said, "Oh, that's a UFO over there," and we all said, "Yeah," but we didn't realize this, the incredible significance of what we were looking at. I mean, obviously, we got a very good look at this thing, and it was clearly not a plane or a helicopter or anything like that. And yeah, I mean, I read about it, whenever I found something, or there would be something on television about it, because it was becoming a big subject in the 90s, paranormal events and supernatural stuff. Then I started to read more in the newspapers, and I think for a while, from around the age of around 13, 14, I kind of just left it to one side. Because, you turn in 13, 14, you're going through that big stage in your life, puberty, and you're coming of age a bit. And then I think around the age of 18, 19, maybe starting around the age of 19, I really started to look into it more, because the ability to use the internet was becoming much more prevalent. And then by 2002, 2003, I was really reading a lot of on-site material. And then, of course, video streaming came in, and then you could watch a lot of other stuff. So, my research really took off from the age of 19. I really started reading a lot of stuff. I knew a lot before, but, I mean, obviously, this is where I really got into it. And I did that for a number of years. And then one day I just decided to start investigations. And I started small, but I never realized I'd be put in the deep end pretty quickly with the Panther.
Yeah. Yes. I mean, was there a particular case that propelled you to be more active, Gary? Because it's one thing from having an interest in the subject to taking that step into the outside world and visiting certain locations or trying to meet witnesses and do your own personal investigations. Do you think it was... Oh, sorry, Gary. Did you think it was just a gradual progression from that interest, or did something happen that made you think, no, I need to get out there. I need to be finding out what these people are seeing?
Well, I hadn't long started to get involved in investigations, and obviously I think you do progress from that point unless you've trained yourself to do a little bit of this, unless you've got some previous experience in it, going out and meeting people and doing investigation work, regardless of the subject. I mean, I was at the Rich Planet Merthyr Tydfil conference in Merthyr Tydfil, and we'd had that tremendous build-up for quite some time of military personnel and trucks and convoys and aircraft, but obviously a lot more was going on around Penturk. I live up closer to Merthyr Tydfil area, but we were saying, what the hell's going on here? People up and down the valleys were very peculiar about it. And then one day I'm at the event, in Merthyr Tydfil, 2 days after the Penturk thing had happened. And Kaz Clark told the whole room what had happened and what she saw. Naturally, everyone was amazed and aghast at it. It was like, oh my God, I didn't hear this, and everybody wanted to hear more. And then everyone started talking about, explosions and helicopters flying low and smoke. And there was a guy who worked at the hospital who said the roads were blocked, and that, or some lady said the roads were blocked. And the guy who worked at the hospital said that, the whole building shook. And I know the Royal Glamorgan Hospital. I've been treated there once or twice. And I said, wow, this is so fresh and so new. I wanted to get into this right away. And, that was the case that really started me on my way. Really, like going out there, meeting people, talking, understanding how to gather information and stuff. So, yeah, and it just, I just found I had a natural gift for it, I guess. I was very good at listening to people, and I've had my own experiences, so I knew I knew that these people were being genuine, or they wanted to say things. So, yeah.
Do you think as well, in the pantheon of British UFO sightings, Gary, that for some researchers and some people, they tend to ignore cases that come out of Wales for whatever reason, to concentrate on certain notorious English ones and a few from Scotland more than anything, whereas as someone with a real interest and love of this particular subject, especially in my home country, I'm fascinated by the quality of certain incidents that have occurred in Wales, because when you look at, say, Haverfordwest, as we've mentioned about Kaz Clark, some of the strange things that have been going on over North Wales over the years, Berwyn, there are some astounding cases from such a small part of the UK with a very small population that doesn't really seem to warrant visitors from another world. That people will always say, oh, well, it's usually down to military installations or army manoeuvres and things, and yet Wales, and especially some of these particular incidents, don't seem to be really linked with any of the normal cliches for ufology.
No, maybe not. I don't know. I've concentrated on my I obviously researched a lot of worldwide cases, especially some of the ones up in England. When it comes to the strangeness of cases, I think Wales probably has some of the more better, well-documented ones than most of the other places in Britain and probably around the world. The trouble is, they don't really get... I think part of the problem really is the media attention, and obviously I think maybe it's location. When you look at England and you look at Scotland, I think with England, in particular, there's obviously a larger populace there, so word of mouth is going to get around. And when you have higher density populated areas, I imagine that the excitement levels would probably go up a little bit more. There's more people to confer with. And of course, with the vast majority of media outlets out there, it only takes a couple to, say a story here, say a story there, to generate a lot of interest. But I think with Wales, that does happen, just maybe not on such a large scale that it tends to go unnoticed. Because, in North Wales, the Denbigh Free Press and some of the North Wales outlets, they tend to be a little bit more, what's the word I'm looking for? Supportive, but not. They don't really ask any hard-hitting questions or send journalists to really investigate these things, but at least they log the stories, and give you some idea of it. So, I think with Wales, though, when I look at other cases, I'm quite surprised that the Berwyn Mountain doesn't quite get as large response as it has, obviously Rendlesham Forest has, or the Sheffield incident for that matter. I mean, when it comes to, in 1979, the case I mentioned in the book, Llanech Ahmed.
Yeah.
That's another case. I mean, God. That was witnessed by a whole community. I know of 6 witnesses that were mentioned in a Bufora report, which I also mentioned in the book. And I also met one time one of the witnesses who was still living in the area, and she said to me and the people I was with that she saw 2 beings. They were 7 feet tall. They were walking around in the field like they were, I don't know, collecting samples or doing scans or something. And then they got back in their craft, and the craft was like some sort of bullet-shaped thing, It was like a bullet, It was a very strange shape to it. And the most unusual thing I found about it is that the military were once again on site straight afterwards, and there was a lot of investigation work done about it, but it's been very hush-hush. And then, of course, you got Broadhaven in Wales, the school children.
Mm.
And then you got, but the one that really gets a lot of attention is the one that happened in Zimbabwe.
Yes.
I can't remember the years.
94.
What was it called? The Aerial School?
Yeah, Aerial School. Yeah, 1994. I think, was it September 94? It was late on in 1994, but yeah, definitely that year. But that's an incredible case, Gary, yeah.
Yeah, I know. I've seen a lot about it. I've actually found the original interviews. It was a very lonely YouTube channel with about 5 subscribers, but it's got these brilliant, archive videos. I thought, this is really good stuff. The raw interview footage, and I was listening to them. Those kids definitely saw something. No mistake about it. But I mean, you can look at the Broadhaven one as well. I mean, that made BBC News.
Yes.
They listened to the kids, and the kids all were pretty sure they saw something oval-shaped and stuff like that, and some silver man, silver suit. Again, more parallels to stuff. I mean, there's another case called it's called the European Roswell. It happened in Llanilla.
Yes.
Gary Rowe,
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, he's recovered a piece of something, whatever it may be. I don't know, some advanced military craft or something out of this world. I would say it could be a bit of both. It's definitely an unusual thing he's got there. This was something that exploded over 4 or 5 farm fields. The farmer called Gary Rowe and his team before he had a chance to get people together to go down and take a look. If I get this correct, they sent the military or someone came in, cleaned up the area, turned over the soil, and it's like they got a cleanup crew, and the same thing happened with Penturk. The military came into the area, cleaned it all up. They went into the Lantris and Common area, picked up every piece of scrap metal and scrap that had been on the common for years. It's the council's job normally to clean all that, but they decided to do it for them. And they've never given us a reason why. But, I think when you realize that there's a ton of UFO activity involved in all these cases, you make the connections and see how the dots line up, how the dots connect to each other.
I mean, there is, I think often as well, there seems to be in certain circles, Gary, whenever children are involved in any particular case or any type of phenomena, some people just completely dismiss it. And I find it very odd, as we've mentioned, both Broadhaven and Aerial. You could say the same thing about Westall in Australia, that you have large numbers of witnesses who all happen to be school children who, for better or for worse, for some people, are completely dismissed because they're children, which I find deeply frustrating and peculiar, especially Westall, because it's Australia, it's 1966. I doubt that was a hotbed of UFO fans or people that were really into the subject or even had a possibility to even read about the subject in that particular era, Gary. And often we get strange kind of explanations put forward. Broadhaven, they tried to say that it was some kind of council recycling van that the children had all mysteriously seen, which doesn't match to anything the kids actually talk about, because, one kid says it comes through the woods. So what, have they got flying recycling vans now? And you had, Westall was dismissed as a balloon of some description, and yet, as you mentioned about cleaning up sites at Westall where it landed, they completely turned up, cut all the grass, turned it over because there was a landing site there. So
Yeah, I mean, look, it's the same thing. It seems the same thing has happened in Denbigh. You know, they cleared a whole forest. They cleaned a whole area of forest out, chopped a lot of trees down. No real reason was ever given, and this is just weeks following that sighting. So, I mean, it's just strange, Paul. It's very, very strange. All these connections, I mean, when you were talking about connections to Sheffield and Berwyn, I mean, there's something that connects all these cases, and those are those ley lines or arbor points, you know, the way they line up across the country. I mean, you look at all the major UFO sightings, you know, they all sent all the arbor lines or the ley lines or that, you know, these energy center grids or whatever, they all center on Sheffield. But then they go across North Wales, you know, a straight line across, you know, from east to west direction. There's one that goes through Penturk.
Yeah.
You know, there's one that goes through Rendlesham. There's one that goes up to Wilsthorpe. There's one that goes through Nottingham. And there's one that goes, you know, obviously the centre is Sheffield. And, of course, the one that goes up to Scotland where a lot of interesting cases have happened there. And these are all major sightings, you know, close-up contacts, lots of witnesses. Investigation work reveals, you know, revealing evidence and sometimes even, you know, military documents and stuff like that as well. So, very strange.
It is. I think often, once you step out into this subject, Gary, it's very easy to be swamped by connections and conspiracies and contradictions and naysayers who ignore and cherry pick information just to match their explanation. This particular case that we're going to dive into is one of those where you have 4 primary witnesses, good, honest, straight up people, no agenda, no wish to be famous, just having a very strange incident that occurred that seems to really transform their view of the world around them, Gary. And it's sad when you read the book to find out that some of the family have had abuse, ridicule, trolling, whatever. They've just been allowed to be targeted for doing nothing but being honest, it would seem.
Yeah, that's been an unfortunate thing that's happened with all this. Some of the family members, of course, they deal with it in their own way, but, you know, they've all been targeted for ridicule, abuse, trolling, and people have tried to marginalize them, you know, put them down. In particular, Nathan has had it quite bad because obviously he's the one that videotaped it and saw it first. And, you know, he was only 12 at the time when it happened. And, you know, people have seen videos of him when he was a young kid. You know, they think he talks funny or he's got a funny, you know, or he's not believable. And it's like, he's 12. He's 12 years old. What do you expect him to do? You know, you expect him to just suddenly become, you know, like, the greatest speaker in the world. I mean, it's just so silly, man, you know. And, you know, he only ever tried to share with the world. I mean, you can see in the beginning, he was very excited about all this.
Yep.
You know, when he was watching it, when he was recording it. And then when he spoke about it later to Peter Glynn, you know, he was very excited about it. He was very, very up for it, you know. But then obviously over the years, the ridicule has kind of sort of made him take a step back from it, you know, a bit. So, you know, it's not fair, man. It's ridiculous. It's just small-minded people, and obviously some of these people are being paid to do it, you know, because no one really in their right mind has a wish to get up in the morning, not in their right mind, anyway, to get up in the morning and just ridicule people constantly.
Yeah.
You know, it's just a waste of your time.
Absolutely, especially if you're spending that much effort trying to demonize a young boy. And, you know, there's something wrong with you, in my opinion, Gary.
Yeah, I mean, you know, it's I don't know what it's like now, but obviously he's still, I think, you know, he still has people, but he's like, you know, he's what is he now? He's 13 years on or 12 years on or whatever. He's like 25 now, 24, 25. So he's a young man now, but, you know, he still talk to you, you know, but he won't talk to you on camera, I think.
Yeah.
You know, as long as it's like an audio thing or something, that's the only way he'll do it. He just doesn't want, which is why I never put any pictures of him as he looks now, because he specifically asked me not to. So I respect his wishes. Well,
exactly, Gary.
Obviously, the pictures of them when they were younger. I mean, him and Alex and Kira and all. I mean, that's gone around all over the world. You know, those videos have been viewed millions of times.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but they're all changed. They're much different looking now.
Absolutely, absolutely. There's a lot to be said for shaving. How quickly that can change your appearance as a young man, Gary.
Indeed.
So, this case is one of those lovely cases I love about ufology, that you've just got somebody just going about their day-to-day life, well, night-to-night life, you could say, really, because the thing that makes me chuckle about this is remembering when I was that age, and it was the Christmas holidays, Gary. You've been up till 1, 2 o'clock in the morning most of the holidays, so you're going to be sort of hanging around, even as a young man, as a teenager, you're going to be mucking about at 1, 2 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
And so we've got a young lad, Nathan, who's just chilling out in his bedroom, and he hears a funny noise because we're having a massive storm. I remember this storm because it blew tiles off my roof. It was that bad where I lived up in Sheffield, Gary. So I know how bad the storms were those couple of days that this incident occurred.
Mm.
And so he naturally looks out of his window because he's heard a funny noise. I think he said a bin had fallen over or something. And that's when it starts.
Yeah, there was a large storm that night. He had a big council, those very big council bins. It was quite full of rubbish as well because, the collectors obviously weren't coming out around the holidays on the usual schedules.
Mm-hmm.
So it was quite heavy. It was quite a large thing to blow over, but it made quite a noise when it landed, I tell you, he said. So he looks outside just to see what it is. He obviously identifies it. But as he's looking through the window, he sees that there's something sparkling or like shining lights, and he turns back towards the television to see if maybe it's coming from the television as a reflection, but it's not, excuse me. And he opens the window to look outside, and you can see it's coming from the distance. And he's looking at it, and he knows pretty much straight away that he's looking at something odd here. I'm not sure how long he spent. It wasn't that long, maybe, call it a minute, maybe 30-odd seconds. He decides to go and wake his brother up, Alex. And I think his brother Alex had been playing his Xbox, and he was trying to wind down to sleep now. I think he was pretty on the brink of going to sleep. You reach that stage, your body's just relaxed enough to start nodding off.
Yeah.
And his brother's opening the door saying, Alex, there's a UFO out here, or something like that. And Alex thinks he's winding him up, and he's like, Nathan's really, trying to say, come on. And eventually Alex just gets up, goes to the window, and it's in the documentary, and I make a note of it in the book. Alex, he can't believe what he's looking at. I mean, it's clear he can see what he's looking at is not normal. You have to understand, they've lived in this area their whole lives. They know what's normal year on, year round for specific parts of the year. And this is something out of the ordinary, out of the realms of normal. And, at that point, Nathan had been given a camera. I think it was a Camellia S30 made by Toshiba. And starts recording. He actually starts recording it. And I thought, wow, that was good. Most people would just stare at it and get in all the details. But he had the sense of mind to start recording. So I've always given him a lot of credit for that because, people get really blown away by it, don't they?
Yeah, absolutely.
People say, I just got to make this point. People laugh and say, oh, well, where's all the footage? I said, where's all the cameras? I said, well, look, how many sightings happen every day? Where's all the footage from that? It doesn't happen that way. When you're really up close and seeing something, your body is just in a different state of mind. It's hyper alert. It's focused. It just wants to see what's going on. And then, the normal functions may come in at some point, but it doesn't happen straight away. And that's, of course, you're prepared to see these things in advance, and you just get lucky one day. You know what I mean? I'm just going to say, it's just not how it works.
Yeah. No, of course it isn't. And I think even with fairly run-of-the-mill incidents that might be a bit strange or a bit unusual or a bit odd, people freeze under normal circumstances. So for Nathan to have, as you say, the state of mind to be able to pick up his camera and start recording. I mean, this is the other thing about this. We've not got 10, 20 seconds here. We've got, is it 9 minutes of footage of this thing?
Yeah, 9 minutes or close to 10 minutes. Yeah, there's two separate videos. I think the first time I started recording, it was like near enough 3 minutes. They wanted to, I think they wanted to go wake their mother up at that point, so maybe Nathan put the camera down and probably knocked it off. But then I think Alex was the one who picked it back up and started recording. And they sort of took it in turns, sort of holding it and recording it. But yeah, the footage is quite remarkable. To get quite such a long, detailed look at it, it's quite remarkable because there's a lot of things said in the video as well. There's a lot of things said in the video that really gives a clear outline as to their state of mind. They don't know what they're looking at. They know it's amazing. They can clearly see this thing saucer-shaped. I mean, at one point, Nathan says you can see, oh, look, you can see over the top of it now. And then I think Alex a little later says, oh, I can see the saucer. I can actually see the saucer. I mean, what they see with their eyes is a lot clearer than what the camera shows. And I have tried to highlight certain frames where you can maybe make out some shape and stuff. But yeah, all I'm saying is, you can see from Linda, the mother. And it's funny how she was woken up by this. I mean, I think it was Nathan. Yeah, Nathan came downstairs. Or was it Alex? I don't know, one of the two. Anyway, she gets alerted saying, Mom, she wakes up. She's downstairs sleeping on the settee because she had a granddaughter, Kira. Kira was staying with them at the house, and all the bedrooms are upstairs, so the kids have got those. But she was okay, sleeping downstairs. She's been doing it for years. And yeah, she's abruptly waking up. She thinks, oh my God, is the house on fire or something? And she's like, oh, there's no fire. Just come and have a look, he said. She's like, what then? What? And yeah, she starts looking at it. And then the dog gets a little bit excited. I don't know if that's because of what they're doing, or maybe it's because there's they're sensing something outside, or maybe it's a bit of both. That has been reported on a number of occasions. Excuse me. That has been reported on a number of occasions. Animals start acting a bit different when there's these strange things near them, but you can make of that what you want. But yeah, eventually at some point, Kira herself can hear the commotion. She's told what's going on. She comes to the window as well. And yeah, all four of them see it from the bedroom window, and it's clear what they described to me. What you see in the video is also what they describe with their own words, but in more detail. It's oval-shaped or disc-shaped. It's rotating. The lights are flashing like very bright white bluish lights. There's a red one on the top in the center of it, like a cherry on top of a cake, if you will. And it's even tilting at some point. Get this. It goes from like a sort of, a flat shape, it's like, what is it, horizontal? And then starts going into a more vertical shape. And the lights can clearly be seen doing that, It's almost like I wouldn't say it was like a 45-degree angle. It was somewhere in between maybe a 30 and a 40-degree angle. But it's tilting. You can definitely see that. If you use the houses, the roofs in the foreground or the background or whatever. But yeah, it starts tilting, and, the lights. I mean, I watched it in the video, and I've studied that video quite a lot. The lights, they're very unusual. I mean, sometimes they're flashing individually, like 3s and 4s. And then there's like groupings of like 8 or 9 in a small section. You can see from the lights themselves that are of different sizes. Some of them are like very small, and the other ones are like large, like, they would be like large spotlights on you or something. They're very, very unusual. And they're not like flashing lights on a plane or a helicopter either anyway. But like I said, stormy night, 50, 60-mile-an-hour winds with gusts up to 80, I do believe were recorded. The temperature was about 0 degrees or just above. And you're talking high torrents of rain, torrential downpours. So the visibility is not all that good, unless you've got something lit up and you can see where you are. It's not the ideal conditions for anyone to be outdoors, even if you and that land that they said that some people think it was on, that's private land, and I don't believe that there would be permission given to anyone to do training on that one anyway. So there you are.
Yeah. Well, when I was reading the book and Nathan's explanation, and you've just mentioned it there, Gary, I remember when I saw something several years ago, and what I saw and what I recorded didn't look to be anything the same, because I could clearly see something. And once again, Nathan's clearly a very switched on lad, because he went through all the sort of, is it a reflection? Is it something in my room? Is it something from outside? And did all the sort of things you need to do to validate that what you're seeing isn't something like that. When it happened to me, I did exactly the same kind of things, Gary. I thought, is it something reflecting? So I moved around the room. I thought, is it headlights from cars bouncing off something? Is it something outside of the door that's coming in? Is it the way the window's opened? And eventually you work out that it's none of those things. I'm seeing something in the sky that I've no idea what it is. And as I've always said, Gary, I don't know what I saw, but I know what I didn't see. So Nathan seems to be, once again, a very switched on young man for 12 years old to have the thoughtfulness to record it, speak to the rest of his family, get everybody seeing what he's seen, eradicate any potential reflections or anything, to the point that these guys are clearly seeing something that's unexplained.
Yeah, I mean, I spoke with all of them a number of times, online and in person and over the phone. I mean, yeah, Nathan, my impressions of Nathan were, he's a very bright, very intelligent young man. He clearly identifies with what he saw, and he's obviously been able to use a process of elimination with his brother Alex and also Kira and their mother. They're all very switched on people, intelligent and all that. They know what they saw. They know their area. They know that when people try to say it must have been this, it must have been that, they've always got answers to their questions, and it always comes back to this was a strange object, and it wasn't in the places by the golf club or the quarry as some people are trying to make out. This was closer, and it was probably just beyond the back drop of the houses there, closer to the football field and all that rather than the farm. So, yeah, I mean, and, with Nathan, I always got the impression he was a very calm lad, he was always very, I don't know, I mean, with Alex, you can hear him getting quite excited, and, he's obviously, he's like, this is amazing, but when I'm listening to Nathan in the video when he's 12, I mean, it's like, I don't know, he's obviously excited, but he's obviously, I don't know, he seems to have a better grasp of it. I don't know. It's just, yeah, they seem to be quite excited and very calm at the same time. But,
yes.
And they're taking it all in, and, because, I mean, they're talking about putting things on YouTube and putting things in the paper. Nathan's talking, it's like Nathan's talking about, how to help people see this and all that. And I think at one point, I don't know if it was Alex or was it Nathan, someone was talking about the CIA or someone coming to, to come in, and the mother had to sort of calm them down a bit. But so they all kept their heads.
Yes.
They got all these scenarios going through their head. You know what I mean? So it's obvious that, I mean, if you just, obviously that's a sign of some intelligence going on there, because some quite intelligent minds going on there, because they're thinking of all these things and they're discussing all these different scenarios while they're staring at a UFO. You know what I mean? It's just, and it's like 3 o'clock in the morning as well. So,
yes.
It's obviously like, tired minds there, but they're still switched on.
Yeah, definitely. Well, it speaks volumes of them.
Yeah, it does. So the people making fun of them are just idiots. You know what I mean? So I just tell them, I know it's not easy for you. I've been mocked with all this my whole life. I've seen, look, there's only 2 ways you can deal with it. You can either let them get you down, or you can just ignore them and keep moving forward. Be happy in yourself, and that tends to be the best advice I give anyone. And it works, because I'm happy.
Yeah.
I'm still doing this.
Yeah. I mean, when we talk about incidents, and like you've said earlier, Gary, people will say, well, where's the footage? And sometimes you'll get a shaky video that doesn't really show much. It could be anything sometimes. Sometimes you get stuff that makes your jaw hit the floor. This is 9-10 minutes worth of footage of some strange lights that really do make you scratch your head. And it's baffling to me when you read the book and you look at the case. It seems to be one of them that the local press were genuinely interested, and as you mentioned earlier on, very supportive, didn't dismiss them, didn't ridicule them, just printed the story. This is what happened. Here's some images of it. Did anybody else see it? And for it to then it just seems to, on occasions, Gary, I don't know what makes certain cases burst through into the public domain or become well known more, that the body of evidence for some cases are nothing like what these guys captured that stormy night, and yet it seems to have just been pushed to one side and just gone, oh well, yeah, that's a bit weird, we've got loads of footage, but yeah, it could be anything that.
Well, I mean, when I say supportive, I mean they obviously print stories, but they won't send journalists out. That's a pain in the ass about. And that's mentioned in one of Peter Glynn's videos.
Yes,
it was the first part, but he definitely talks about it because the family wanted reporters to come and have a look at it. You know, they called the police. They wanted them to have a look at it. You know, they were trying to find answers to what they saw, but again, it's all the police said it was ramblers or lampers,
yes.
People walking through the night or whatever. I think lampers is something to do with hunting, but ramblers is more ramblers is more like people who go walking at night, you know, with torches, head torches or whatever. But either way, they just seem to dismiss it. I'm like, you think that's ramblers? I say, are you for real? You know what I mean? Come on now. Where do the beams of light from these things? You know, they should be seeing sources of light on the ground, highlighting whatever it is they're hunting or whatever, trying to find their way through. But they did confirm that there were no helicopters out that night. With Peter Glynn, you know, he was the one who, he was like, you know, he's another switched on, intelligent individual. He's obviously researched the subject for many years, but he's been in politics, you know, he's acted out, he's worked in the medical, and mental health fields for many years in his earlier years. I think he went to university and, you know, he's academically qualified, but he also had an interest in the supernatural, paranormal, UFO world as well. And he lived local. And, I think the family reached out to him and some people put the message to him as well. And, you know, they met up not long after. And, that's really the only way we got some good, solid information, which I always credit Peter with. I said it's so important to get testimonies and witnesses to speak. If you can, even just write it down or get them to speak on camera. The fact that they were willing to speak on camera speaks volumes too. Because I've spoken to a lot of people who have had some pretty impressive things happen, but they won't even so much as, you know, speak to you hardly, you know. They're just like sort of like text you or, you know, maybe speak to you off the phone, on the phone, you know, but no recordings or something. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And these ones have always been willing to talk and always been willing to share their experiences. So that speaks volumes. And they've always stuck by their story.
Yeah, yeah.
Peter got all their words on camera. He saw where they were on the night and looked at it in a daytime comparison. You can clearly see that this is the place and gives you an idea with a day and night comparison roughly where this thing was coming from. And then, of course, he went to the area, up in the farmland area himself, to check for human activity, which I would have done the same. I said, you know, if there are people up there, there must be signs of some people being there then. Footprints or something, you know, maybe rappers or, you know, there's got to be some sign of something there. He didn't find anything. You know, there were some tire tracks left by the farmer in a field, but that wasn't enough to say that this was, you know, that, because apparently the farmer only works in the daytime. He doesn't work at night, especially on them conditions. He checked out some other areas too. And, you know, he looked at the video, did some analytical work of his own. He put together some 8 pieces of video, and altogether, I think it runs up to about an hour and a bit. And he did a very good job of it, I thought. And when I saw what he'd done, I thought, great, you know, you've done some good stuff here. But I just knew I could take it further and expand on it and really make it, you know, really make this case look like, you know, the real big case I know that it was.
Yeah. You
know, I mean, I have tried to contact journalists. I recently spoke in the Daily Star, the journalist there. I won't be speaking to her again, even hers to promote the book. You know, I told them about my case. She just seemed to mock the whole thing, to be perfectly honest. My case, and she didn't even hardly mention, you know, remember the case I told you about my experience from 7 years old?
Yeah.
You know, I was trying to make the comparison there that this case, I mean, the way the lights moved there they had some similarities to mine, you know, the bluish hue around them, the rotation and the oval shape and all that.
Yeah.
So that's how I recognized when I first saw the video that this was something most unusual. But, the only way this case really got some real notoriety was when Peter posted some of his videos on his channel, and there was a very famous, well-known musician. I don't know what kind of music he does. I think he's like a rock band DJ kind of thing.
Oh, Skrillex. I forgot the technical term for it, but it's kind of high octane dance music, guitar based.
Yeah, yeah, something like that. Yeah, but he's very well known for it.
Yes.
You know, he's very famous. He posted it up on his YouTube. The YouTube link on his Facebook page, and instantly, you know, that video went from maybe a few thousand views into hundreds of thousands of views. And I know, there was local interest from TV. I think there was an investigator who wanted to look into it. He may have been a former policeman.
Yes.
I don't know which one. But I also understood there could have been a possibility of TV, some TV crew from America, like one of those, is this real or is this not real type of shows.
Yep.
But they just finished filming and they couldn't come back for some time. But what was sad about it is that this case was red hot. And as you say, with the media, it just seemed to die off. It's like everyone just seemed to play it down then.
Mm.
And then obviously, of course, the trolls and debunkers came out and just tried to make it look stupid. And it's only because of the recent work I've done on this case over the last, coming over 5 years now, that we've reached a stage where the book is out and I've done a documentary and I've been able to have the video professionally analyzed by Jason Gleaves.
Yes.
You know? And combining that with the work of what they've done and all that, that's the only way this case is actually just getting some of the credit it deserves, I feel.
Yeah. It's frustrating for me, Gary, when I hear some of the explanations for this, because I know, as you mentioned there, this thing about lamping is a very odd one, because for the police to go, oh, it's just lampers, well, that makes you wonder why they're not following up, because lamping's illegal. So,
yeah.
They're going, oh, don't worry about it, it's just somebody breaking the law. What?
I know.
That just makes no sense to me. And
it's a good point, that.
With the greatest of respect, as you said, the conditions, it's not going to be anybody, I mean, this is 11 years ago anyway, Gary. It's not going to be somebody flying a drone in that weather on that particular night. And even if you are doing it, why would you do it on the off chance at 3 a.m. that somebody's going to be up and spots it? That's another thing. It's not going to be fireworks because they'd move. That's certainly not going to be flares because they would go away. They wouldn't change shape or anything in that kind of regard. I mean, I've heard people say it was some drunk golfers in a golf cart, which makes you wonder, because I play golf and I know you've got to get the keys from the clubhouse. So if the clubhouse is locked, you haven't got the keys. So you can't be driving the carts around because they're not there. And even if you were, that ain't it.
Well, yeah, I mean, you just mentioned, I've mentioned all these examples in the book and in the documentary that I made. I put it all together. So, okay, then let's run through them. Planes, no. Helicopters, no. Fireworks, no. Electrical arcing, no. People with lampers or ramblers or mountain walkers, no. Army training, no. Because I put comparisons, drones and all that, I put up comparisons of what they look like when you film them at night next to the video that was shot. And I was like, this doesn't even look anywhere near like that. And as you mentioned, the drunk golfers, I mean, that's Mick West, sometimes I have said, that on occasions he has done some good work on debunking, but I think sometimes that's all he cares to do is debunking.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It seems to be his default mode. I mean, I give him credit though for saying golfers, aliens on golf carts, I think is what he said in his debunking video or his explanation video. But he's trying to say that there's vehicles or something with lights going up one of the golf course things there. But as you rightfully say, I mean, the golf course is shut at night.
Yep.
And if you're driving around up there, you're going to need someone to give you the keys.
Yep.
And as I've already said, Peter went up there and had a look around, didn't find any evidence of tracks like that.
Yeah.
On top of that, I should say that if that was someone driving up the fairway of that particular part of the golf course, because it is behind, it would have to be, there's a banking going, there's a hill rises up. There's a banking, tree lines there and fence, and then it goes down, and you have to look down about 7 or 8 feet down over the banking to see the golf course. So, I mean, unless those lights are 10 feet tall from the position of the family, do you know what I mean? They wouldn't be seen. You wouldn't see lights or vehicles or people activity from that position. It would be hidden and obscured by the landscape. So put all these things together, and I just say, look, even the family themselves, I mean, they say that, especially Linda, she said that it was a lot closer, and I think the family all said that given its size, it was 60, 70 feet wide, maybe. That's why I tried asking, do you have any idea of how big it was? They were saying it was like the size of a house, like 60, 70 feet.
Mm.
But, well, okay. I looked at the video, and I thought, what are the furthest lights from the left and right side of the video, and they're on flashing? Trying to figure this was the edge of the vehicle, the craft that they were looking at, the object in turn. And I thought, well, I know the point of the window. I can see that this is aiming more or less that part of the house there, and this is at this part of the house here. Let's just draw a line on Google Maps through the two of them, because this has got to be the viewpoint that they're having, and measure this between the two lines. And I did quite a bit of good analysis on that. I was quite proud of it. I mean, it's definitely in line with the day and night comparisons. It's definitely in line with the lights as you can see them in the video. You use the specific landmarks like the lamppost or the chimney or something to guide you. And when I find the width of it, 60, 70 feet, puts it just behind the road near the beginning of the farmland there. So, and if you go a little closer, like 50 feet, maybe 40, 50 feet, it puts it in the field of Kai Howell, which is just behind the houses where you can see the lights, and that's where Linda reckons it was. And she wasn't far off, So I think when you put it all together, we've actually got a location of roughly where this was.
Yeah.
Jason Glynn liked the video as well.
Yeah.
He confirmed it was unexplained and that it didn't conform to any natural lights you see on vehicles. There's no strobing lights. There's no evidence of propeller or any sort of shape to this thing other than it's oval shape, which you wouldn't get on a normal aircraft of that kind. And it's very unlikely to be a drone because the technology wasn't around at that time.
Yeah.
So, you draw your... And he's a former RAF man who knows what he's looking for.
Yeah, yeah. I have to say, as I was reading the book, I was thinking, well, yeah, this seems to be a very interesting case. You've got some outstanding witnesses. You've done a lot of work. And I have to say, Gary, the bit that stopped me in my tracks is what's happened at Crest Woods. Now, this is a really odd aspect of this, and ironically, as you've mentioned earlier on, everything that went on at Penturk, there's a very strange parallel here that we seem to have had someone or some organisation after an incident that allegedly officially hasn't occurred, that someone decides to go into the woods and chop loads of trees down for no reason, but doesn't even bother cleaning up, Gary. Now that, for me, is one of those moments that you sit back after you read that particular portion of the book, you scratch your head and you think, what on earth is going on there? Because that, if anything, that just adds more to the conundrum that we've got here, doesn't it?
I can tell you how I learned. I mean, I didn't expect to learn about that, actually. I just remember I was going up to meet them for the interviews to just discuss, what they saw, how it all went about. Just ask them. I mean, I spent quite a bit of time preparing the questions and everything. Really put a lot of work into that.
Yeah.
And, I just remember that one of the sisters, Linda's sister, Margaret Pritchard. Two things I discovered that day. They'd chopped the trees down. They chopped the trees down 6 weeks after it happened. Now, I only discovered that when I was walking around the woods. I wanted to go see them. Margaret was with us, and she told me, that this was all destroyed just a couple of weeks after the actual sighting. And I thought, well, hang on now, what do you mean? Because, they were just unhappy that this lovely forested area, this lovely, beautiful landscape, there was nothing wrong with it according to them or anyone else who I spoke to about it. But just a couple of weeks after, they decided to chop all those trees down, a large area, which was just, some of the trees were taken away, I guess. Some of them were just left by the wayside. But there's no particular reason for it. But, I often thought maybe the sighting was coming up from that area. Maybe there was something wrong with the trees. Maybe they'd been affected by this craft, Maybe there's something that contacted them. And I was just wondering about that. And so I had Margaret, speak to me about it. And, she just told me that within a matter of weeks, They had sent some cleanup crew up there, or some crew to go and then cut them all down. And I tried asking about this in an email to Denbighshire government, the customer service. I asked them, the woods, I got a reply to why were the woods, why was this place chopped down? Now, I tried all these other ones, but this is the only one I could ever find an email for. They said the woods in question are not maintained by Denbighshire. You could contact the Wood Trust or perhaps CADW, as they are the ancient woodland people, so I have been told. And I just love that part there, ancient woodland,
Yeah.
Felt interesting. I mean, why would you call it ancient woodland? I know the place is ancient itself, but
Yes.
I would have thought this place may have had some kind of protective status if it was an ancient woodland, but there we are. But you can see the pictures in the book. I mean, there's just these trees. It's just this large open area. There's some big trees. They've been chopped down. I was wondering if maybe the storm may have blown them over. You can clearly see some of them have had some cut marks in them, chopped up with a chainsaw. And there's a comparison in the book as well. You can see from 2006. This was only like 6 years before the event. The woods were all fine. And then in 2016, which is the closest one I could find, or whatever, around that time, there's a large chunk of this forest that's been cut away. And I've never understood the reason why they've done that. So, and this happened in Nottingham, a case that happened, I think it was in the 1980s.
Yes.
I don't know exactly when it was.
Yeah, the Nottingham Roswell, as they call it in the area.
Yeah, and Emlyn Jones is someone who's been looking into that.
Yes.
But, they something had made contact with the trees apparently, and they sent in a crew. Yeah, that's it. November 12th, 1987. And people's homes were damaged, things were shattered, and authorities were called in very quickly. They chopped down a lot of trees, a lot of soil was dug up. Again, the same thing happened in Aberystwyth, Llanilla. There, the same thing happened with Penturk. The same thing happened with the Berwyn Mountains. I do believe that Scott Felton has talked about that. I believe the same thing happened with Sheffield. Even for, I think when someone who knows the case of Rendlesham Forest very well told me that the trees in there were chopped down in a matter of hours, less than a day in some areas. So there is clearly some sort of cleanup that goes on with these sightings and these UFO incidences, especially when they come into woodland and people in a close proximity to people.
Yeah. I think as well, it's quite striking because at the same time, a couple of months later, there's a family in Scotland who also, although not as good as Nathan's video, Gary, also seem to encounter a very similar sighting in the sky where you've got these strange things about the lights and everything. And as we've touched on, the witnesses, Nathan and his family, they all said that they could see a saucer-shaped craft behind the lights eventually, because obviously your eyes get used to it and things like that.
Yeah.
It's strange sometimes that you have these kinds of sightings and then something else very similar happens within a couple of months, something like that, even if it's not in the same part of the world. To say it happens, 300 miles further north, Gary, is quite telling, and that sighting has one of the most laughable explanations I've ever read, which somebody said, it's probably the Northern Lights. Well, if that's what you think the Northern Lights look like when they're caught on camera, I suggest you get yourself to Specsavers, because you're not looking at things very well, my friend.
Northern Lights, I mean, God.
At least it wasn't a Chinese
and
one.
people say we're crazy with that explanation. It's not being funny, mate.
Yeah.
The Northern Lights, really, you think you could have just been a bit more, what's the word I'm looking for? A bit more original, a bit more fun, even a bit more ridiculous in your thinking. You could have said it was the people, you could have said, maybe it was people fooling around with microwaves and tinfoil, that created that illusion, you know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean,
sparkling in the distance.
I mean, it's got somewhere to go to one of my favourite, most ludicrous explanations for something happening, Gary, which is the famous Kokura Lights sighting, which is a strait of water between Australia and New Zealand. Somebody's tried to say that they were reflections from cabbages that these people were seeing, which is a whole new one for me.
Oh, I've heard some bright whoppers in my time, There's some right whoppers, but that's a good one.
It's always been one of my best, along with the fact that the reporter that filmed him was called Quentin Fogarty, which is a wonderful name.
Oh, do you know, I mean, can I say, it can be anything but a UFO. It can be anything but that. It can be magic balloons or bubbles, with glowing lights in them, if that's such a thing, you know what I mean? But it can't be. It can be children with, glow-in-the-dark bubble gum, blowing bubbles in the distance, but it can't be a genuine UFO craft of some unknown description, or even alien technology. No. It's just ridiculous. It's the things people come up with.
Well, you see, this is often the strange thing about this. Plausible explanations are put forward in a wide range of strange phenomenon, Gary, and often the explanations are usually more ludicrous than the possibility it could be something unknown. And I think often that it doesn't seem to be too prevalent these days, especially for people like ourselves, that if we don't know what something is, we'll say we don't know what something is. What we won't say is it's something it clearly isn't, which happens a lot.
Mm. Yeah, I know. But, I mean, if you just take a bit of time to look at these things, and there are two things I could point out, they are in the book. There's one interesting enhancement frame that David Williams done. He's the next door neighbor of this family, sorry.
Yes.
He used his iPad, some software on there that he was able to capture an image with. And I think he did it as a process, he captured it and then he zoomed in a bit, captured it, zoomed in a bit, captured it, zoomed in. And he just created this incredible, enlightened image. I don't know how he managed to do it, but it just really shows. It really shows the outline of this thing, especially on the top. You can see the blue lights in the middle, the smaller blue lights on the right side of it, the red light on the top, and there's the appearance of, you can see a contrast in light and shade between the middle part and the surrounding dark areas of this object. Mm-hmm. There's clearly some oval shape to it on the top, and that's what I thought was amazing, how he was able to do that, because I've tried to recreate it, but I never was successful. But something I did manage to do, I was able to get a really good frame that allowed me to highlight what appeared to be some sort of fixtures and shapes in one side of the craft. I mean, you can clearly see the lights. I think this is figure 59 on page 179, if this is correct. Yeah, this is the book I got is my author's copy. I haven't got the actual one I'm selling at the minute. Yeah, but in that, anyway, figure 59, I show that there are these, strange lights, small lights, big lights. Some of them are blue and yellow. Some are orangey in their color. There's a red light on top, and there's a sort of triangular fixture in the middle of it all, like some kind of window or door or something. It's very unusual. You can clearly see a triangular shape in the midst of it, which tells you, that this thing is obviously very detailed in its structure.
Yeah.
It's got shape. It's got geometry, and that's not going to be people. That's not going to be the Northern Lights or anything, is it? So, I mean, and I just think, it's just silly. I mean, this is what I love about this case. This video clearly shows that this is something it's not. The witnesses clearly say it's something it's not. Even now, what are we? It was 2012 or 2013. So it's 11 years now going on.
Yeah.
11 years going on. They still haven't changed their story.
No.
And you speak to every one of them, I guarantee you, they want to see it again. They are desperate to see it again. Mm. When the lights stop in the video, Alex said, "Oh, don't stop."
Yeah.
They wanted it. And then I was speaking to Kira in an interview, and I always remembered what she said. I says, she's a big Ed Sheeran fan.
Yes.
She's a Sheeran, yeah? Sheeran. So she's on about, we're talking about it. I think we would say, so if you had the choice of winning the lottery or Ed Sheeran frontline tickets with VIP back passes or something, or seeing this thing again, I said, what would it be? Oh, this thing again. Because it's priceless. It's priceless, And I just thought, that is just such an incredible statement, right there.
Speaks volumes about it for me, Gary. And like you say in the book, this has been one of the most enjoyable cases you've worked on so far because of this family and the people around them. Yeah. Everybody sticks up for them. Everybody tells you that they're good, honest, decent people. They are not the kind of people who would create some kind of fable at 3 o'clock in the morning to try and hoodwink anybody. And obviously the fact that they've stepped back from the media and don't want their images portrayed or anything, some people go,
well, Nathan doesn't want his image portrayed.
And the rest of the family okay?
I think the rest of the family will be perfectly fine with it. I don't, but like I said, I don't know, because no one's really, I don't know, maybe there'll be renewed interest in it, because, I mean, it's the video itself. I mean, the witnesses in the video should be more than enough for TV crew to get excited about. I mean, I don't know where they are at with, if they want to speak on camera or whether they would speak again. I think they would, you know. I think the mother would, I think Alex would, and I think Linda, the mother, would, and Alex, the elder brother, would, and Kira would. I just think with the experience, the negative experiences that Nathan's had, I don't think he would speak on camera, maybe with an audio or something.
Yeah.
That's how I've understood it. But, I mean, look, you know, it's up to, I mean, if all these companies are interested in new UFO cases that have tremendous evidence, I can't understand why they've not approached this by now. It's ridiculous.
It is.
Just for that reason, you know, not for the family. I'm on about the TV companies, you know. I mean, if they're so serious about UFOs and understanding them, why are they always sticking to the old cases?
Yeah.
But I mean, for some people, I guess, I mean, in terms of TV time, how much more can you possibly say about it? Unless you discovered something new, there's not more to say, is there?
No.
I'm not saying you should keep updating people with it, but, you know, I mean, Rendlesham Forest has been covered pretty well.
Yeah.
I'd say Boswell has been covered pretty well.
Yeah.
You know, got Penn Turk, and we've got this case, Denbigh Lights, UFO. There's two cases for you right there, Dad, to the folklore of the Welsh history on this subject. I mean, there's a case I'm looking into right now that happened up in North Wales by Llandudno.
Oh, right, yeah.
Yeah, I did a podcast with Kaz.
Yeah.
Called the Central Club. Yeah, Central Club, yeah. Forget the guy's name, sorry. Cullen, I think his name is. Had me and Kaz on. Went down very well. It's got a lot of views, got a lot of positive comments. Someone saw me and Kaz speaking on it. She got in contact with me and Kaz. She gave me details, and she asked what I look into it for. I said, well, let me know a bit more about it. You know, is there any more information? Because the more I get, the more I can do for you. And she saw I got a lot of detail off her, and luckily I found where she posted her original story or her original sighting. You know, did anybody see this or that? And in the comment section, there's a lot of good information there, like radar events, a diagram she drew not long after it. A lot of other people have added a lot of people have added interesting explanations, which I think have been disproven. Like these large drones that supposedly fly over there. Navy supposedly, we said, no, this thing doesn't look like that. So that's her, in the comments at least, you know, not long afterwards, disproving these people, you know, adamantly saying that this is not what it was.
Yeah.
It was some sort of V-shaped object with ridges in the middle of them. I can't quite describe it, but it looked like a V. It looked, from a diagram, it looks like a V shape with it's like ridges or these square-like lines going through the whole area. And it's the way she described it. I think she said it was rotating and spinning as it was gliding over.
Wow!
And then it took off and went out into the distance. And she's with her partner, the same person. And I'm hopefully going to meet them soon and have a chance to go to the area and maybe speak to some locals. Maybe they've seen something, as well as, you know, speak to them. I've just been trying to get some freedom of information on, you know, stuff with that, you know, like the Coast Guard and the radar, any international airports nearby.
Yeah. Maybe
they've got a report there. I've been going through the North Wales databases to see if there's anything. This looks like a very, in terms of the details of what she says this craft was doing, I've never heard of this one, but never quite heard of one like this. I'm quite intrigued by it. It's because it's usually I hear orbs or cylinder shapes or triangles.
Yeah.
Lots of triangles there, you know. We've had the Night of the Triangles, you know, 1981.
Yes.
You know, that was another one. I mean, that's another one that doesn't get a lot of mention, and people all across Wales saw that one.
Yeah.
From the south up to the north, off the coast of Liverpool and in Northern Ireland, people saw this thing.
Yeah.
But I mean, it gives rise to the idea that there's some off-sea base in North Wales, in that area. We have to agree that there could be something there. I can't prove it, but there's just too many things being said about North Wales, and with And it's interesting that, there's not as much military interception or military coverage of that area.
Yeah.
Even though they've got base up there and they do regular flight patterns up there, which I find kind of interesting. I sometimes wonder, is that are you up there for flight training, or are you keeping an eye on something? Or is that sort of like a symbiotic thing they got going on? We can do regular flight training, but at the same time, it allows us to monitor this area. It's kind of like a multi-pronged thing they're doing, if you ask me.
Yeah.
But, so I'm hopefully going to look into that one. I've got another one now. Says some of his family members, his mother may have seen something, and his niece, but I haven't had a chance to really speak with this gentleman yet. It's like I'm getting contacted by people now, and I really want to do this. I really want to build up my own database of cases and really speak to the people and, try and... And I always say to people, look, you can either speak to me on camera, you can speak to me off camera, can I take an audio recording, or I'll just make notes, It's all up to them, but I think at minimum I need to at least get something down on paper, I can make a case of it that way. But yeah, I mean, North Wales, it's not too far from the Denbigh lights when happened. And again, we've got this thing that goes out to sea and is very low and doesn't move like a normal vehicle would, So it's very strange indeed.
It's remarkable. Well, it's a fabulous book, Gary. I'm really impressed with the level of investigation you've done. You've covered, as we've talked about some of the more ludicrous explanations for this incident that occurred to the family. You've gone through them, you've talked about them, you've had the video analysed, other people have looked at it, you've utilised your relationships with other researchers, you've cross-referenced it with other events. It's a great body of work, Gary, and I look forward to you continuing to push the boundaries of what's going on in the strange skies above North Wales, because clearly there's something odd going on here, and a lot of these sightings and cases are being overlooked. So all power to you, my friend.
Yeah, I mean, that's sort of what I want to do now. I want to keep pushing with Wales and cases. I think the more I learn, the more I'm going to uncover things. Like I've already uncovered, I think there's definitely a connection with ley lines and energy lines, even the myths and legends of places. I'm not saying there's the idea of dragons and things, wizards being real, but I mean, what were people's perceptions of things in those days, If we talk about dragons and wizards today, we say we laugh, innit? But, if you go back 1,000 years, you see something that's flying in the sky and you can't identify, you're going to call it a dragon or some magical wizard thing, aren't you?
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I would just say, I hope I can encourage more people to maybe speak out about cases. I'm hopefully going to get more witnesses to this case, because I can't imagine that they were the only ones who may have seen it. Because where they live in Denbigh, Bringarth area, which is by the farm, Croppy Farm, I can't imagine they're the only ones who saw it. Some people may have seen it themselves and thought, it's probably the golf course, the quarry or something, but it's nowhere near. You just don't know, innit? And maybe this will jog people's memories. So hopefully people are going to hear your podcast and it'll jog their memories. But I'm plowing forward with this case. I may go visit the family again soon if they're willing, if they're okay with me, if they're okay with it. Because I don't know what that. I think Linda, the mother, might be all right. But some of the family, they've kind of moved on from things now. They're doing their own thing. So you know what it's like, innit? Maybe, but who knows? I'm hoping to see them again and see where we're at. Maybe there's other people who know. Maybe there's not. But, David Williams, the one who put together that image, said he saw, I think it was like a week before. I think he said like a week before there was strange lights he may have seen like that for a brief moment of time. Just before, a week before it happened. So, and I've come to realize that when these things do happen, these like really detailed cases, especially when they've come near public places, that they tend to hang around for quite some time. It's not like, they just show up and disappear. They obviously have an interest in the area for some reason.
Yeah.
So, there's obviously bound to be some people who may have got a photograph, like that Graham Evans story.
Yes. Near
the Denbigh Castle. There's been all kinds of stories on the Denbigh Castle. Other people have reported strange things near the coastline of North Wales by Rhyl and Llandudno and all that.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I should have been. There's a place up there called is it called the Clydean Range?
Yes.
Yeah. When I spoke to Gary Rowe, a veteran of this whole UFO event, I've even met Margaret Fry.
Oh, right, yeah.
Yeah, well, I was with a UFO group at one time. I'm not going to mention their name, but because I've had a major falling out with them, I don't appreciate how they behaved. They're based in Swansea, so I think you can guess who they are. I'm not being funny, right? But I'll say the name once. Sue Fon.
Yeah.
They tried putting down the Pentair case a lot, and they, even people who are diehard, people who were original members of their group, founding members and audience members of their group, have now turned their back on them as well because they're just fed up with the way they're acting. But anyway, that kind of makes my work a little more difficult, actually. Yeah. Because I've got a genuine desire to do this. I mean, this stuff costs me money. I don't make any money from this. I mean, this book may make a little bit of money for me, but it's not going to cover the cost of everything I've done over the years. I mean, I mean, North Wales, I mean, yeah, hopefully I'll go up there again. I'm hoping to go up there in August sometime, maybe meet the PR partner who saw that thing out to sea. Hopefully I'll have some information to take with me so I can ask a few locals. Maybe they can help me out. But, yeah, I mean, I had another sighting recently. I just mention it quick.
Yeah.
This came out of nowhere. I was in Cardiff in November. I was doing can I call it a political rally or an awareness rally? Anyway, this was in court. The court case was going on, and during the middle of all that, I met someone who told me about the sightings they were having down in Swansea area. Where was it exactly? Port Talbot? Yeah, Port Talbot. It's another hotspot area, see? And she was saying she was seeing all these strange things and all these strange lights. She showed me some pictures and some videos. And, they were most unusual. But once I started to go down there and see what she saw and what direction they were coming from, I realized that some of the things she was photographing and videoing were stars.
Yeah.
The bright stars in Orion cluster, star constellation. But that doesn't mean all of them were wrong. She just didn't know what she was looking at. She thought she was looking at something strange.
Yeah.
On one occasion, though, that I have confirmed, she did actually record a UFO. And it was quite an amazing shape. It was blue, very bright blue. I thought maybe it was a reflection on a window, but when I saw how the reflection was behaving, not moving with her in sort of a way, and I checked the star charts and the direction she was looking out of a window, there was nothing there for that time of night.
Yeah.
And the good thing is I got the timestamps of all the videos as well, just to sort of clear up what we were doing. On that occasion, yeah, she did see a UFO, and when I was able to get closer in on it, it was a very unusual sort of shape. It was like, what sort of thing is a six-sided shape? Well, it was like that anyway, six-sided.
Is it a pentagon? No, it's not a pentagon. Is it a hexagon?
It could be, I don't know. Sort of like a hexagonal kind of thing. It was all like symmetrical with even lines and shapes, and it looked like grooves on the sides and a sort of divot in the middle, sort of like a concave, is it?
Yeah.
When it's sort of like that sort of shape. Anyway, I told her that was a genuine UFO. Congratulations. But I also remember when I went down to see her one time, to discuss it. I mean, we were driving around and we actually saw one for ourselves. Some strange, bright light was over the seabed by the lighthouse area. And I thought it's probably the lighthouse or maybe a vehicle coming in. I checked with the radar later on. There was no planes there. I missed getting my camera. I was like, hang on, what the hell is that? And just as I got my camera out, after about 10 seconds, I started to tried to get a bit of film on it, and it went out. Like I was watching it.
Yeah.
And she said she's got another video of like that with her friend, and I haven't had a chance to look into that yet. I need more details, but the point is, more and more people are sending me things, and I'm always happy when I have at least some video to work with, because I think once I have video or photographs, at least, that gives me something to work with. Because you can do, if you've got a bit of know-how and you understand things, but when you have a 9-minute video and a 10-minute video, the point of what I was making here was, once you understand what you're looking for and you compare it with everything else and you do the thorough job that I've done here, and you've got a brilliant family witnesses who are all willing to work with you, the case sells itself.
Yeah.
The Denbigh Lights, a truthful argument for the existence of UFOs. I'm not saying that UFOs don't exist, nor does this book settle that argument. What I'm saying is that anyone who believes or wants a case to sort of like cement that idea, That is a fact. Look at that case there.
Yeah.
That proves it to me. I mean, the Pentateuch's my biggest case, obviously, but, if you're looking for something that'll look at all areas and convince you, that case right there, I think, wraps it all up very nicely. Very conclusive.
Definitely. Gary, it's a fascinating case, and as I said to you, all power to you. Keep uncovering these lost gems and hidden stories, as you say. As always, I think, Gary, once you get out there and you get books and you do interviews and things, as you say, people will reach out to you. People will say, actually, this is going on where I live. So once you've got some information out there and people realise the diligence and the tenacity you show when you do your inquiries and your investigation, then I suppose it also means that people know they can trust you and you're going to treat them with the respect that they need. Because often, as we're both aware, Gary, people see strange things often and just don't want to talk about it because, as we've mentioned, the kind of reaction that unfortunately Nathan's suffered is happening all over the world to all kinds of witnesses in all kinds of fields. So it is what it is, sadly.
That's one of the reasons why I'm doing this, is because, I want these people to get the respect they deserve. It takes to do that, to come forward like that, even if you are just at the time an eager 12-year-old or whatever, and a 14-year-old and stuff. But still, it still takes guts to come forward, and they deserve the respect because they've never shied away from anyone. But at the same time, some people have made it their business to marginalise them. I don't appreciate that.
No, I completely agree. Gary, where can everybody get a hold of the book? Keep up to date with anything and anything else that if you need people to reach out to, what can they do?
Okay. Well, I'm on Facebook under my name, Gary Jones, Gari Jones. You can find me on Facebook there. Let me think. I do have a Rumble channel. That's where I usually post most of my material and anything else that I've done with my political activism. But most of all my UFO stuff's on my Rumble channel, Gari Jones 7. That's the name I gave it. And if you want to get in contact with me, I always just recommend get in contact with me via Facebook first, and then we can send me a personal message and we can go from there. The book is available on Amazon. The Denbigh Lights UFO, that tends to be how it comes up on Amazon. I think the search comes up a lot quicker now, but when the book was first out, some people were typing in the Denbigh Lights and it wasn't coming up. But that's just because it recently placed there. But I think if you type in the Denbigh Lights, it'll come up, or Denbigh Lights UFO, it should come up now. And it's on Amazon. You can purchase it from there. It's available in a number of formats. You can get it on paperback, 12 quid. I think a hardback sets you back £18. There's also a Kindle version. I think that's about 5 or 6. And I think audio is about £5 as well. So there's a lot of different ways you can listen to this now. So and read about it. So yeah, by all means, please buy a copy. Leave a review if you would, please, because that does help me.
Yeah.
Obviously, if I'm going to do any more updates on this, I'll just update people through my Facebook profile for now. I should get a website really, but I just don't have the time or the money or the patience, I guess, even because I'm so busy with everything else.
Absolutely.
Set it all up. I mean, I'm pretty good with tech stuff, but I mean, a website right now is a bit beyond me to sit down and go through right now. But yeah, that's how you can get me on Facebook, Rumble, or you can get the book off Amazon. So yeah, you'll see a lot of information in that.
Fabulous. Well, I'll put links as everything for people to track you down in the show notes, Gary.
Yeah, do you have the link to the documentary that I put together?
I don't.
Because it's about, how long? I can't remember how long it is now. I think it's about an hour and 15 minutes long. And a good portion of the video is in there.
Yeah.
The video they recorded, also with subtitles and words, And a lot of the work, a lot of on-field research, Peter Glynn, Jason Glee stuff, and myself. I mean, I cover everything that's in the book. I cover in there. So if you read the book, which is only it's a good read. I think it's about 200 odd. According to this, it's about 240 pages long thereabouts. According to that, and a very nice, easy read. I've had a lot of good reviews on it already. And once you've seen that, if you're not sure or anything, go watch the documentary, or maybe watch the documentary before you read the book. either way, you'll get good information, and I think this case speaks volumes for itself. So there we are.
Absolutely. Completely agree. Gary, it's been a real pleasure to finally speak with you. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your patience. And thank you for writing this book, because it's brilliant. Well done, mate.
Thank you very much.